Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. Less than 24 hours after setting in, the shaky ceasefire in the south had again been broken by yet another pair of rockets from the Gaza Strip. And the rockets launched Saturday morning were heading straight for the southern city of Beersheva before the Israeli Iron Dome defense system intercepted them. Well, alarms were sounded at around 2 a.m., sending some 3,000 clubgoers in the city into a panic. So in response, and in an apparent return to standard policy, the IDF is reported to have struck multiple Hamas terror targets in the Strip. And again, in spite of the fact that Islamic Jihad terrorists are thought responsible for the latest clashes. But the IDF reiterates that Hamas is the organization responsible for all things in the Gaza Strip, and will therefore bear the consequences for terror acts carried out against Israeli citizens. Then in any case, this was the first time Beersheva has received missile warnings since the aggression started earlier in last week. And while reports suggest that there has been turmoil between Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, efforts to show collaboration and sympathy has prevailed in the Palestinian media, as Hamas earlier pledged support for the rocket fire. Also, Islamic Jihad leaders welcomed a Hamas leader to the mourning tent of Baha Abu Alata, the terrorist leader that the IDF killed last week, igniting the latest violence. It was a very close call, but on Friday, officials from their respective clubs announced that the Uruguay-Argentina soccer friendly will go on as planned on Monday night in Tel Aviv's Bloomfield Stadium. Welcome. The highly anticipated match features international superstar players like Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez.
Suarez scores!
And with hundreds of Palestinian Islamic Jihad rockets raining down on Israeli cities last week, it was almost canceled. But with a shaky calm appearing to hold, the two major teams have agreed to play.
Argentina lives on!
Meanwhile, in Jerusalem's Teddy Stadium, Israel's national team lost to Poland 2-1 on Saturday night in a qualifier for the Euro 2020 League tournament. But referees almost called a red card on the fans and the game after two men interrupted by storming the pitch. Security guards even crashed into Polish player Tomasz Kedziora by mistake while trying to subdue the two fans. But with the interruption taken care of, team captains convinced referees to resume the game. Finally, with Poland winning this game, it's been assured a spot in Group G of the 2020 tournament. Don't cry for Israel, because even though they lost this particular match, for the first time in decades, Israel already reached the playoffs set to begin in March. The November 20 deadline is quickly approaching, and blue and white or Kachol party head Benny Gantz is feeling the pressure as he scrambles to cobble together a coalition. Gantz was given the mandate by President Rivlin after incumbent Prime Minister Netanyahu failed in the first attempt. But there's little evidence that Gantz's luck will be any better. So in the latest bid to gather the numbers and form a unity government, Gantz is requesting that President Rivlin break up the right-wing bloc. And Israel Beitenu head Avigdor Lieberman tabled a bill in similar hopes that Likud party members would jump ship and cross the aisle. Blue and white has even been more openly courting the joint Arab list for a so-called minority government, a controversial move as the Arab list has never been a part of the ruling Israeli government. The Arab parties and Kachol Lavan are at odds over the recent uptick in violence with Gaza. Blue and white largely praised the IDF's response to Islamic Jihad rockets, even calling for a stronger deterrent, while the Arab party leaders called it a war crime. But whatever the case, everyone agrees that a third election would be a disaster for the nation, yet it feels closer than ever before. Those who suffer from and live with diabetes know well what a restriction having to take insulin shots can be. But diabetics may not need to rely on this treatment forever, because the future has arrived with the artificial pancreas. And an Israeli startup called Betalin Therapeutics is opening the application process for patients who want to get in on the list for the artificial organ. Now, attempts at taking beta cells, which create insulin from donors with healthy pancreases, have been made in the past, but those cells are unable to survive in the body without the support of the original pancreas. And they're also often worn down by the immunosuppressive drugs that diabetes patients take. Well, with the artificial pancreas, the implanted cells have a better support system and can survive on their own. And the fake organ, which is implanted into the leg, is made up with lung tissue from a pig and insulin-secreting beta cells that either come from a donor or are created in a lab. Finally, the implant is expected to initially cost around $50,000, with the surgery taking just about an hour. All right, that's all for now. Follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and, of course, on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.